How's it going? You
Hi,
might want to
Scott.
share your screen out again. I think I took it away when I did the polls.
All
There
right, let
there
me
we
try
go.
to get
Got
that
it.
going. Are we good?
Yep.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Brad Williams, one of the managing partners here at Trade Ideas. Welcome to our Wednesday Q&A webinar, our interactive webinar. I'm going to take you on a little tour of the product, and then I'm going to show you what we've been working on lately, some of the most recent innovations and advances to the Trade Ideas Pro platform. I'll take you on a little bit of tour of the web as well. We're doing a lot of great work on that, on the web-based version of Trade Ideas. But before I get going, let's just hit our disclaimer. We are not a registered investment advisor. We don't know anything about your account, your size, your risk tolerance. So if you're looking for investment advice, please seek out a registered investment advisor. I'm going to talk about our technology today. And in the process of doing that, I'm going to be talking about some stock names. So just please don't take that as investment advice. Give you a quick high level of what we're doing here. We've been focusing on idea generation, specifically just that concept, what you should be trading in the market for the last 16 years. It's all we've been doing. We started off with a single component, and over that time, we've developed a platform, something that you can configure, you can use out of the box. It's really a piece of clay, and you can mold it to your trading style and have it produce the type of information that will assist you in trading the stock market. We do something really unique at Trade Ideas. We create very specialized data. Of course, we have the standard stuff. Of course, we can tell you what stocks are up the most, what stocks are down the most, but we really look at the tick level of every single stock. We know its normal behavior for every single stock that's trading. We know how much volume it typically does at different times during the day. We know how much it moves. So these are what we call statistical benchmarks. And when those benchmarks get broken, when we have things that are kind of out of the norm, outliers, if you will, we're able to bring that information to you very, very quickly. Like an example of that would be our relative volume filter, or relative volume data point. It's a really powerful filter or visual aid, if you will. It's something that lets you know exactly how much volume is transpiring in a stock compared to normal. So it's just a simple ratio. A value of 2 is going to let you know that the stock is trading 2 times its normal volume at that point in time during the day. So it's really that type of granular approach that we provide and offer on all the different stocks that are out there with our analysis. In addition to having that specialized data, we allow you to create your own strategies. We allow you to backtest those strategies. And then ultimately, we allow you to execute very, very quickly with a single right-click execution macro, if you will. You can go ahead and set these types of execution controls up so they're very, very specific for you. What kind of stop loss do you want to have, profit target, how long do you want to stay in that trade? So just with the right click, you can have all of those different parameters entered in. Right now, we currently work with interactive brokers on the execution side, but we do have plans of broadening that scope. But for right now, it is interactive brokers. We find that they have really great commission structure, and the technology is really robust so that we can integrate to it very well. Talk about some of our windows. These are the 3 most important windows that you're going to come in contact with when using Trade Ideas. The alert window, which is an event-based notification window. It's denoted by the A in the upper left-hand corner. And then I have top list windows, which are ranked list of stocks, all sortable. It's really what we call multivariate sorting, where you can have a server sort that delivers that information to the window, and then you can then further refine the sort order by selecting one of the columns to have it either sort in ascending or descending mode. In that top list window, along with all of our other windows, we allow this very customizable color configurations that give you additional data points through the coloring of these windows. And then that bottom window right here is our multi-strategy window. Very much like an alert window up here above, but you can combine any number of different alert windows into this single window container. And then when any one of those alert strategies are triggered, that'll go ahead and provide you the information, what symbol it triggered, and then what strategy name. So you can have, these are the different alert windows that you kind of incorporate in the multi-strategy view. Of course, we have charting, super important. We've brought in a lot of interactivity into the charting, and I'll show you that as we go into the demonstration. This upper right-hand window is our compare count. The compare count's really cool because it allows you to pit multiple strategies against each other and really see what's winning right now. Are the bears winning? Are the bulls winning? You can have it running cumulative from the beginning of the day, or you can start it fresh at any time and see, all right, from this point in time, how's the market doing? Are we bullish? Are we bearish? And then our single stock window. There's actually a newer version of it, and I'll show you that. It should be, I think it's available for download. If it's not, it'll be available by the end of the week with all the latest modifications that we've added to it. But the single stock window really just allows you to take a deep dive into any particular security and look at the data points that we offer. The standard ones change from the close or the open to the more obscure ones that we create: position and range, relative volume, where it is in its 20-day range. Then I'll go through some of the different filters and data points that we have along the way. Price alerts are pretty powerful. This allows you to set a threshold, and you can do it very interactively through the chart, or you can use the tabular format, but all you really need to do is right-click on a chart, select the price alert. When it crosses that threshold, it'll go ahead and notify you by a pop-up, an audible signal, and let you know that that threshold has been crossed, so that you can then take notice of it and see if there's a transaction or trade that you want to make as a result. And this is really the latest functionality that we're incorporating into the web-based version. So I'll show you where we are on that. We're about halfway into the process, but moves pretty quick once we've set up the architecture for it. So this right here, I'm showing you the Oddsmaker. This is our event-based backtesting tool. So on any type of alert window that you create, you can go ahead and run a backtest on it and see exactly how you would have done had you performed the same set of instructions for every signal. I'll run through that too a little bit later, time permitting. And this is our latest module, the Brokerage Automation tool. This allows you to automate any alert window or alert strategy and trade ideas. It allows you to set up a very, very sophisticated right-click macro that is inclusive of your stop and your profit target and your time stop and all that good stuff. And then it also allows you to automate the AI signals. So if you have that component or that add-on of the subscription, then anytime there's an AI signal, you can tell it how you want to approach those signals, what kind of order you want to place in the market, how much you want to commit to the particular trade. So once you set that up, it'll go ahead and fully automate those signals for you as well. So a couple different things you can do with Brokerage Plus. So let's go ahead and kill the presentation and go right into the software. So I'll give you a little high level of the software. This is Trade Ideas Pro. I'll bring in real quick Trade Ideas for the web. They look very, very similar. They operate very similarly. So if you know how to configure or manipulate one of these versions, you know how to do both of them. So the same functionality is present. But what we're doing here, and I'll just kind of give you the sneak peek with respect to the web-based version. If you go to new, we have this new option here called Price Alerts. And while it's not fully functional yet with respect to the integration on the chart, it has all the mechanisms and the architecture in place now. So we're very, very close to incorporating this functionality. And then the next step to what we'll be doing here with the price alerts are going to be some event notifications via email, via SMS, via the browser as well, through different modes, depending upon whether you're on a mobile platform or whether you're using Chrome or IE or one of the different browser tools. So this is coming along really nicely. The most recent addition that we've added to the web-based version is bringing in the Omni AI and bringing in the approach to be able to look at all of the different AIs. So that's a relatively new piece of functionality that we've added to the web version. So let's go right back into the application. The channel bar is something you should all be familiar with, because the channel bar allows our new users to really hit the ground running. You don't need to know how to configure the software. You don't need to know how to set up these different windows to really get value out of the channel bar. And kind of let me show you how it works. So I'm going to just go to the pre-market channel, and all I did was click on the pre-market icon. It'll go ahead and let me know exactly what channel is being displayed with an on superimposed over the channel. And this is what I would look at the beginning of the market, where I'd be looking at what stocks are moving, what stocks are gapping up. And it's right now set to idea surfing, so I don't really need to do anything, and it's going to continue to peruse through these different windows. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and pause it right here. so that now what I can do is I can go ahead and simply select windows. Even if it wasn't paused, I could go ahead and select the different windows as well. But if you're wondering why things are changing and you're not doing anything, it's going to be that pause icon that's going to control that aspect of it. So like I was telling you earlier, this multivariate sorting is available in the top list window. By default, I'm bringing in all of the big gap percentage winners and the gap losers, if you will, in this window. But the second sorting that I could do is I could take this and, if I wanted to sort it on price and take a look at the stocks that are, let's say, the cheapest, or which ones have the biggest dollar gap. And then I could look and see how does that correlate based on the color coding to the percentage gap. So you can do your early morning research here, and you can set up thresholds. And this is what you would do, let's say, like with a price alert. I mean, obviously this is aftermarket and I'm not looking before, but something like this, I've got a clear resistance level that's been set, and I could just create the price alert. I could put a note in here. Most of the time I don't even bother with the notes because I want it to be fresh analysis, but a lot of people do it differently, and you could put in some type of note here. All right, and so we can just save that. And now when that signal appears, when this stock happens to cross that threshold, that note's going to pop up. I'm going to be able to click on that alert, and it'll obviously change the window here to that particular symbol. We do have what's called external linking. I'll just pop that up. I'm not going to fully go through it, but if you have a third-party application, whether it's Thinkorswim, something like RealTick, any of the other trading applications, you can go ahead and link this with that application as well. So not only when you select a symbol will it update your chart and your level 2, but you can have it also update your trading platform. Might have level 2 in that, or you might be using some of the news or some of the other tools in there, and this keeps it all nice and consistent, so you can just really get your analysis done with a click. And like I was telling you earlier, on all these windows, whether it's to top list, multi-strategy, you can just right click on any of these signals and put out that trade. And I'll get into how these are defined and how you set up these particular orders. But the point is, it's just really a right click away from being able to execute your desired order there. So spend some time, go through these channels. This is a great channel right here, Barry's Windows. I know Barry's been working a lot on the way that he curates this and the way that these symbols are offered to you the next day. So he does a very manual approach of going through, a lot of these stocks that were in play today and yesterday, and he sets this window up so that when it starts to cross a threshold, these stocks are going to be in play today. And so he's had a lot of great success with that. So I encourage you all to take a look at it. And if you want to know a little bit more about it, you could simply just go to our website here, go right up to the trading room, and Barry's operating this trading room every single day. He opens it, I think, about a half hour before the market. Most of the time he's closing it a half hour before the end of the day. So he's in there a good period of time. They're all trading live, and he's utilizing this layout quite a bit. So you can ask him any questions or just sit back and try to absorb some information. But I highly recommend also everybody take a look at the trading room. It's free. You don't need to be a member. You don't need to be a subscriber to attend and get some value and benefit out of it. So please know that that's there. All right, so just a couple other channels here. We've had a good AI day here in Holy Grail. Let me talk a little bit about the AI. The AI, we have about 50 different strategies that are in play every day. And then after the market completes, we have a tool that we've created, well, several different tools, some machine learning tools, but it's really based off of our Oddsmaker technology, that event-based backtesting that I was alluding to earlier. And essentially it goes through all the different strategies and it updates them. It modifies them based on today's data. It looks at all the filters, decides whether it should make a change here or there to the min, the max, whether it should leave a filter off. And it essentially optimizes all of these strategies every single day. And at the end of that optimization, there are a variety of different metrics. For instance, what's the average winner, the average loser? What's the win rate? These are the different metrics that are used to define what strategies are going to be in play the next day. So for instance, in this particular AI segment, Holy Grail, out of the 50 different strategies, just these 5 strategies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These 9 strategies made the cut today. And when these strategies make the cut at the beginning of the day, we have no idea what symbols are going to be triggered out of that. It really is all about the strategy itself. And when all of those filtered criteria are satisfied and the event takes place, then it generates a trade idea, a signal, if you will. And these were the signals that were present today. Let me just broaden it a little bit so you can see all of the ideas that came from this AI segment. And we keep track of a variety of different P&Ls, if you will. We keep track of what we call risk off P&L, which is essentially keeping that trade through the time horizon. Each one of these strategies is optimized using a time frame. So maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 2 hours, maybe it's to the end of the day. So at the end of that time frame, that position is going to close out if it hadn't been stopped out, and that's what the risk off profit value is. And with every different P&L, there's a percentage P&L associated with that. So that's the risk off. Now the risk on is trying to hold that position till the end of the day. So it's not looking at the time stops and it's saying, I want to hold this to the end of the day. How would I have done? But the difference between risk on and full risk is it's taking a look and considering the stops. So if you happen to get stopped out of the trade, then the risk on profit's going to basically lock you in at that stop loss price, and that's where it ends. But the full risk, on the other hand, and that's this far left profit value, this is essentially simulating you holding that position to the end of the day and not putting any stops in it. So it's completely without stops and it's just going to run. So you have 3 different profitability segments, if you will, in this to see exactly how is the market performing. Is the market following through? Is the market jiggy? Should you just hold these positions for a shorter period of time, or is it in your best interest to hold it for a longer period of time? And that's essentially what the different profit values are offering you. And if you wanted to change something like this, if you wanted to say, okay, I really don't care so much about full risk profit, but I do care more about the risk off profit percentage, you could just go in and you can customize this to give you the data points that you want. And once you've set it up the way that you want it, once you've created all the columns, the look, the feel, once you have it to the size that you want to have it, all you need to do is right click, save it to the cloud. We'll do the entire layout. So I'll just call this sample layout. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy this right here into my clipboard. And then I'll just come up to my channel bar setup window icon here, and I'll just edit the channel. I'm going to add one. And let's just call this Updated AI. And put my cloud link right in here. And I could have gone select from cloud if I didn't have it handy in my clipboard, and hit OK. And oh, one thing I need to do, I'm sorry, edit channel. Let's write the name and apply. So now I have my updated channel here. I never need to go back to this Holy Grail if I don't want to, and I can utilize this one that's going to have, you know, the layout, the workspace set up the way that I want it to be. All right, William, I see a question here. How do the red and green price zones mean? So I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about the colors? Oh, you're talking about here on the chart. Okay, so on the chart, this is actually a great understanding. Let me blow this one up here. This is going to give me a good understanding of risk off and risk on. So when the trade was initiated, when the idea was instigated, this blue arrow is letting you know what candle it took place. And then this blue AI 1386 is letting you know, that line, telling you exactly where that signal was. Now, during the risk off time period, you're going to see a darker shade here. And so what happened was this ended up actually on a profit save. It would have been stopped out if you would have stayed in it, but it looks like what happened is it achieved a certain amount of profitability. And when you have a certain amount of profitability and it all erodes, that becomes a candidate for the profit save algorithm. It has to go up a certain amount for it to be valid, but what happened here is it ran up and then it came down very, very hard. And that's basically where it got out. And you can see here the exit price was $13.80, so a little less than where we we got into it resulted in a bit of a loser in the risk off. So that's your risk off, the darker shading. Now in the red, obviously, this is negative, the green is positive. But there's some lighter shading that's just to the right of that. And that lighter shading is keeping track of your risk on profitability. So even though we're out of the trade here on the shorter time frame on the risk off mode, maybe you didn't get out of it. Maybe that was your decision to stay in it. Well, now it's continuing to keep track of that profitability from a visual perspective. So I hope that helped, William. One thing that we've added to the to the AI is this percentage zone right here. And this percentage zone is essentially adding up all the positions from a percentage basis and letting you know how much of a percentage gain or loss would you have experienced trading all of these positions. And of course, you can always sort it on the percentage and look at that. It's always better to have your winners to have a bigger percentage than your losers. Same with the dollar value. This risk off exit reason here, this is letting you know at the end of this time period, why did you get out of it? So if we go to this ANAB, let's take a look at that. We got out of it right here at the end. And we got out of it only because it was a timed exit. That was it. So this particular strategy was to be held for 1 hour, and that was it. And at the end of that hour, it was profitable. It was pretty good, but it did not receive its full amount and potential, if you will. So in this case, holding it to the end of the day, you can see exactly how that would have performed. And this is the range here. This is the range between the profit target and the stop. So the red line is your stop. If it was to hit that, then you'd be stopped out. If it would have hit this green line here before the 1 hour, it would have received a profit target. So that's kind of how the shading works, as well as the various risk modes. So Jim, I think that's a personal thing. I like the desktop version. It's more robust. It's an application. It's a tiny bit faster, and it does have all of our latest functionality. Example, our single stock window. So this is our latest single stock window, been modified graphically to give a little bit better clarity when you're looking at it. But it also allows us to add many more tabs of information. And we're starting off with the insiders right here, where you can take a look and see exactly what insiders are buying and selling stock. So let me talk about it briefly here. Let's find one that actually has maybe a little of both. So let's bring in something like Snap. I know these guys have a lot of insiders that are selling, buying, the whole thing. So there's a lot of activity here. And you can see a pie chart here up at the top, and this pie chart is looking at a 12-month period and taking a look at the number of shares that have been transacted, both as a buy and as a sell. And you can filter this as well. So if you right-click in this window and you go to Transaction Filters, this is where you can define what information you want to see here. So we've got buys, which are people going out and manually making a decision to buy. We've got automatic buys, so they're buys and sells that are set up previously with a time frame attached to it that are set to initiate at a certain time period, and those would be the automatics. We've got the acquisition, and we've got the disposition. So all of these here can be customized. If you just want to look for, say, the buys and the sells, for instance, where you're manually making these choices and decisions, well, things really start to light up here. You can see that in this particular security, Snap Incorporated, all of these manual decisions are being made to sell their stock. So they're not acquiring or accumulating stock, they're getting rid of it. And so that's what this information is conveying here through the single stock. We do have plans of adding some filters to it and some alerts to this as well. And then we have a whole slew of different bits of information that we'll be adding to the single stock as well. So Jim, for the Mac version, there is no desktop. You'll need to use the web-based version of the software. And that's one of the reasons why we are really kind of fortifying it with the different functionality that's been missing in it for a while. The AI was a little bit lacking. So bringing in the price alerts, and we have some plans to do some other functional improvements to it as well. So that's a single stock. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's in the latest, but by this Friday, it'll be available as a beta with all of this filtering capability as well. So let's see here. What can I show you? Let me, I'll reach out to you guys and see if you have any direction that you want me to go. We're a half hour into it. Obviously, I can show you some back testing and some other things, but if you have a direction you want me to go, please let me know. Talk a little bit about the my liked symbols. So on all our charts, we have these hearts. Some are activated, like in the spiders right here, some are not. If I hit that, it basically turns it into one of my liked symbols. It adds it to a particular symbol list, and that symbol list is pulled for this particular channel. So every one of these windows is looking to my particular list of stocks that I like. So it's just another quick way to add things to a stock list and be able to check back on it later, so that in case you forgot what you were looking at, or that happens to me a ton. This is a good way to remedy that situation. Alpha Predator, one of my favorite channels. If nothing seems to be going on in the market, please tune to this particular channel, because it's always finding outliers. It's always finding stocks that are moving in an inordinate amount, compared to the market. So Jim, I don't have anything on a news feed right now, but yeah, you can link this up with Benzinga or any other program out there through the linking capabilities. But like I said earlier, I do have plans to do a lot of stuff with this single stock window, and I'll just say that news is a component of that as well. Okay, so that's the channel. Let me do this. Let's go ahead and let me show you the backtesting tool here. So let's bring in a strategy. All right. And now let me create a new one just from scratch, and we'll kind of go through that first before we go to the other one. So I'm going to start off with an alert window, and I'm just going to build a quick little strategy here. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's do a crossed above resistance signal. Let me set that up. Let's put in some volume considerations here. Let's say relative volume of 1.5. Change from the close, let's say it's got to be up 1%, price between $2 and $50. Let's add the defaults. I want a few more volume constraints here. Let's say on average it does 250,000 shares a day. Something basic. I have no idea how this is going to perform, but let's just test. Let's try it out. So I just quickly came up with this strategy. You can kind of imagine what's happening. It's crossing above the resistance. It's got a little bit more volume than normal. It's between $2 and $50. So once you've done that, you can do a couple things. You can run a history, and you can say, okay, well, what's happened today? Maybe this is something that I want to go back in the day and pull it up on a chart and see exactly. Maybe I need to go back further and see. So something like 7:30 in the morning. You can see where that signal was. It's had a nice couple day run here. So that's one way to do kind of a testing, where you're looking at that signal, how would it have done. But the real back test is done through the right-click Backtest Strategy option. This is where you define the time frame that this strategy could possibly work. Let's avoid the first 15 minutes of the market, and let's go to 10 o'clock. All right, now let's go to our timed exit. And this is the risk off component, if you will. So how long do we want to hold this position for the back test? Let's just say 60 minutes. And this is where you can also say the time of day. How long do you want to hold it for multiple days? You can do that here as well. But for this, let's just go 60 minutes. This is where you can put in your stop loss. Let's say I don't want to lose more than 50 cents. You can also use a filter, or even set up a custom filter in the software. Profit target, if you want to put that in, you can. tell it how many days you want to go back and test, and these are trading days. So 64 days is actually 3 months if you're looking at just trading days. So we'll just do 30, and let's simulate the buy and see exactly how we would have done had we bought every instance of that. So this is actually a great start, and obviously there are way too many trades here to facilitate a strategy like this in the market. But when you're refining a strategy and creating a strategy, you want to start off with something that's good. You don't want to take something that's really bad and crappy and try to polish it and make it good. That doesn't work very well. So here we've got a nice strategy. We basically broke even, made a tiny bit of money after you consider the commissions, but that's using $5,000 for every trade that I'm going in. That maybe too rich, maybe too light, just depending on how you are. I wouldn't be able to accomplish this particular strategy because of the number of trades during the day. With this, I would need $500,000 to be able to facilitate this strategy using $5,000 per trade. So pretty good. But let's take a look at something. Well, some of the metrics here, right? So you can see that it's almost a 50% winner, average winner to loser, bigger winners to losers, but nothing great, but nothing terrible either. You also have a calendar heat map where you can drill down into a particular day. This is totally overwhelming because there are way too many, but you can see exactly what trades make up that sample set and how each one of those trades performed from a profitability perspective. So let me just let me sneak this down below, so if we want to pull it back, we can. So let's now bring up this optimized mean reversion. I think I made this strategy like 5 years ago, and albeit it's not an easy one to trade because it's done on stocks that have pretty light volume. So I'm not really suggesting it, but from a backtesting perspective, and if you're able to get some of these trades, it's really a great little strategy. So let's backtest it here. And this is the way it was set up, not trading the first half hour of the market. I'm on the West Coast, so these are our trading hours here between 6:30 and 1. And we're not going to trade the last half hour of the market. We're going to hold it for 75 minutes or attempt to hold it for 75 minutes if we're not stopped out after 60 cents. And testing it for 40 days. I don't think that matters much. And let's do it. And I haven't done this in a year or so, but it just seems like it's always holding out a pretty strong return. And I don't think this is going to be any exception here. So this is actually a very nice equity curve with commissions per trade, and then equity curve commission per share. And this could also be considered slippage. If you're just paying a ticket charge, you could have, maybe you're not getting in at the exact price. Maybe you're getting in a penny later and you're getting out a penny later. Well, your slippage in that case would be 2 pennies a share, and that's how it would affect your overall profitability. So you can kind of experiment with that as well. Maybe you're trading share size. Maybe you're trading 100 shares instead of $5,000. Well, then this wouldn't be doing quite as good now, would it? So looks like in a situation like this where your dollar value is doing much better, then you've got some good percentage movers in there as opposed to the equal amount of 100 shares each time. So it's degraded a little bit. It's not as good as it once was, but it's pretty good from the perspective of your winners. We have 57% are winners. This I don't like. The average winner to loser isn't good. I always want my winners to be bigger than my losers. But I could definitely accomplish this strategy right here with $12,000 buying power. So I don't need the full 50,000 that's hypothesized here. So it gives you that feedback as well. So that's the backtester and the Oddsmaker, and this is really what's used when we're doing the AI analysis. The computer's doing this, and it's really using this optimization function right here. I'll kind of give you an idea of how it works with respect to price. So remember we said we're doing stocks between $2 and $50. Well, the sample set came in here. I had 14 trades that came in this first $5 range, 27 in the next $5 range. I could change those ranges to $2. So we must have had a stock drop. I don't know how that happened. What was this? I thought I put my entry price at $2. What was that? Oh, different strategy. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't set the price in this one right here. So the price is $1. If I would have set that 2, then we wouldn't have anything in this first block right here. But essentially what it does, it's breaking it down into these various segments, break it down into the $10 segments. And you can see that this analysis right here, stocks between $10 and $20 didn't do as good as the rest of the sample set. Maybe I only want to trade stocks between $1 and $10, and this would be what I would receive out of that. And you can do that. You can just kind of go back and just right click in here and say, okay, well, what if I do it between $1 and $10? Now, how's it going to look? Back test, simulate buy. It remembers everything you had in there before. So I'm obviously going to have a lot less trades, but they're going to be more select. And that would be the result of that. One other thing before I leave this, let me show you like the time of the day, for instance. This is where you're deciding, okay, I'm avoiding the first half hour, I'm avoiding the last half hour. Well, maybe I should avoid the last hour. That wasn't very profitable for me. I only won 38% of the time, and a total value based upon the metrics that I set up, which were here, $2,500, the commission, that's how much I would have lost. So we do this type of analysis with every single filter we have. So these are all the filters, including the custom ones that I've put in. So if I go to something like relative volume, for instance, and I can see here, it's just one that I chose, but I can see here that if my relative volume is too high, I mean, obviously there's only one trade in that higher set right here, but if I cut my relative volume off at 55, then I would avoid that. I don't recommend doing it for a single trade, but a lot of times you'll find that you had 20% of your trades that were out here as an outlier, and you can just cut that off very quickly. And that's what the AI is doing. It's going through every one of these filters, looking at this data and saying that to best affect the strategy, I would recommend these changes to it, and it makes those changes. And at the end of all those changes, it'll run the combine for you again. So Anthony, with respect to the Oddsmaker and good results, it's a good question. I like to see winners between 53 and 60%. It's important, but again, there's no one way to do it, because you could have this set up so that your average winner is so big and your average loser is so small, you could then have a 40% win rate. So there's not just one way to do it, but yeah, I like to see my profit factor at least 1.4, 1.5, and the profit factor is your sum total of your winning trades over your sum total of losing trades. So if I made $2,000 and I lost $1,000, my net would be up 1,000, and my profit factor would be 2 over 1. So that's how that works. And Jeremy, I don't know that there's a typical ramp up time, because it's really all about what you put into it. You know, anybody can start off, and I kind of liken this product to Microsoft Office, or more specifically Word, or even Excel, but Word. Anybody can kind of start off and they can type a letter, they can get value out of the program, they can print it, they can edit it, they don't, you know, so they get some value out of the word processor aspect out of it. But if you really want to do great things, you know, macros and set up some custom formatting, you know, you have to learn a little bit more, and you have to put in the effort to do that. So it's very, very similar to that. You could really get some great value right away, but you could be learning stuff a year, 2 years down the line, to be honest. You know, like I said, we put 16 years of work in the software. We've been building it and continuing to innovate it for 16 years, and we continue to do it. We're not stopping now. So there's just been a lot of stuff added and added, but none of it's crazy difficult. You know, for instance, if you wanted to, you know, take this window that we created here and change it around, you could do it. Right now we're looking like this was something we put together to cross resistance, right? Crossing resistance on 1.5 times volume, right? So that was what we created here. But now with some of the little tips and tricks, you could spend a year learning the software, but you may not know what this little flip button does. Well, the flip button will take it and it'll completely invert the strategy. It'll invert the alert, and it'll invert the filters that are invertible, like price you don't do anything with, volume here we don't do anything with. But I think we were saying the stock needed to be up at least 1%. Well, now the stock needs to be down at least 1%. So we did a total flip of the strategy. I could change the name here. I could say, what's something like breaking support. And so now I've got that guy. Oh, but I did it wrong, right? I wanted to keep both of them. So I could go and duplicate that. And then I could right click, go to configure, flip it, and say, so now I've got both right here. You know, so little things like that. And another thing, for instance, if you go into configure and you want to, let's say, change your price filter, if you just left click on that, it'll take you right to the filter where you can go ahead and modify and edit. So there are a ton of little Easter eggs like that in the software, but most of it is incredibly intuitive. If you wanted to assign a symbol list to the strategy, you can do that. So it doesn't need to look at the entire universe of tradable symbols out there. Maybe you just want to focus on a particular sector or focus on a particular portfolio of stocks. So you can do that just as easily in the software. So that's good to know that that's available as well. All right, I'm just kind of funneling through these questions here. So, you know, strategy return. I think it's pretty, you want something positive. It's got to be positive. If it's not, don't even embark upon it. But anywhere between 5 and 20 is really the kind of number that I'm looking for from an annualized perspective. On a strategy return, you know, something like this is very reasonable. Okay. Let me show you one other little tidbit here. So just to kind of get your juices flowing here. If you go back to our website and you go to help, and you go down to account management right here, the very last choice, custom formulas. So just to know it's there, this allows you, for the people that are a little bit more advanced or understand the tool and want to get a little bit more out of it, you can create your own filters. And like I said earlier, these filters could be applied to something like a custom stop where you're looking at the range for the day and the low, and you could put something really sophisticated in there. You can use if-then statements. So it's pretty cool. This right here, anything you create here in a custom filter or a custom formula, the two are kind of interchangeable. Let me show you. You can come here, and once you've created it, they're all available to you. So let me go to the filters. Actually, let me do this. Let me go to search. I was in the web version for a second. So now I scroll all the way down, you're going to see all of my custom filters. So these are things that are not in Trade Ideas out of the box, but just little formulas that I've added. And we've got a nice little help page. If you scroll all the way down, just open it up in a new tab. And it's just a 10-pager. It's pretty easy. You know, a lot of it's not a lot of reading. A lot of it's just little one words. And just gives you the formulas. It gives you the different variables that we allow you to manipulate and add to the software. You don't need to be a programmer to use it. So if you're a little bit curious, you can just come over to that section, open the help, and you can experiment. And, you know, start off with something simple. Maybe you just want to look at the open or the high or the low or the close, some basic data points that you wouldn't really use when you're creating a strategy, but maybe you just want to see them, you know, in a window here. For instance, like if I go to configure, I'm not even sure what I have here, but let me type in high. Go all the way down. I don't have high. Let me see if I have close. I probably put them in a different account. So there's close, for instance. So I could go ahead and take that and I can just show it as a column and hit OK. And now I've got U62. I can right click in here, go to properties, and go to text headers. And now you've got the data point that I added. So you can do all those other, crazy different formulas that I had inside of here, and you can add those and manipulate those right through the software. Volume weighted average price, Davin, is the VWAP. It's essentially, a lot of the institutions use that particular data point to use it as a benchmark as to how their performance is when accumulating or getting rid of stock for their clients. So let's just say a stock, the VWAP for the day was 50, and a customer wanted 1 million shares of the stock, and they got long at, say, 49.95. Well, he beat the VWAP by 5 cents, and that would be very favorable for the trader to achieve that. So if you get worse than the VWAP and you're buying the stock, then you didn't quite do so good. And the inverse is true if you're shorting it.
Brad, let me know if you want me to help.
Are you there? Who is that? I don't even know who is that.
That's right.
Go ahead, dude. You can help.
Well, I don't know. I got to say, number one, I'm sorry, Brad, and everybody. How long have you been going, good buddy?
Is that all you got, buddy?
Well, no, I was gonna. I mean, but I didn't know what you shared. Again, with my calculation error today, this is just entertainment for our audience. I was going to talk about the single stock window, of course, but I'm sure you already covered that.
I did. I talked about it, and unfortunately, I wasn't quite sure whether we've released it yet or not. I don't think we have. I think that the version that has the various filtering in it will be coming out this Friday. Yeah, but I did. I talked a little bit about that and went through a couple scenarios and showed how to filter it and everything. All right, guys. Well, let me look back to some questions here to see if there's anything else that I haven't gotten to. That's right, Mike. But I was just about ready to wrap it up and bring it back to the presentation.
Yeah, again, you're driving, my apologies.
Oh, it's all right. It's no worries. So guys, we do have a summit coming up here in October. We have some great speakers. It is something that we're going to stream online. So take note of these different links that we have here to be able to join us or to purchase tickets. It's going to be in San Diego, atop the Symphony Towers. It's really a great location. We have some really interesting people. We are a software as a subscription service, breaking it down the pricing to the day here. We do have 2 different iterations of our product. We have a standard version of it and the premium version, which includes the AI. We've most recently brought price alert functionality into the standard version. But attending today's webinar, we have a promo code, WIN with TI. It's got to be all caps. You'll get 15% off by using that, and 15% off either the month or the year, depending upon how you want to approach it.
Brad, we had a question from Anthony, actually from David, I'm sorry. And Anthony also had a question, but I wanted to touch upon that question that David had about strategies for day trading versus swing trading, and the fact that we have different channels for different things. But really, that's the primary purpose of the Oddsmaker that we have, which is the ability to take a signal and say, okay, well, this is something that works, let's say, for the time frame of anywhere from the whole day to a certain time fragment of the day, like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, etc., and then find something else and test that for a longer term time frame. So just want to make sure that they knew.
Yeah, so Davin, Brokerage Plus is available now to the standard users. That's something that we've brought into the fold of the standard users. You still need to be a premium subscriber to be able to subscribe to the Holly functionality inside of Brokerage Plus, where you can automate that. But everybody will have access to Brokerage Plus. and the paper trading, which I didn't really talk about today. The paper trading will allow you to really test and utilize these tools without going live through your interactive brokers. You'll be able to test it and utilize all the functionality in the software prior to turning the system live. So Robert, yeah, with respect to the single stock window, you can definitely bring in your custom filters into that. So anything you create there, like even the simple ones that I was talking about, the open, high, low, close, those can all be added right into your single stock, and you'll have that data point available to you. Yeah, I mean, you can, oh, the insider information will be filterable at a point when we have the filters for it. So right now, it's just the data inside of the single stock. That was phase one. We will be bringing in filters and alerts to it as well. So Anthony, I'm not sure that I understand. Ones that have worked best today is the assumption that that is the closest we can get tomorrow. Well, there are a couple different approaches to AI that we're taking. Yeah, there's really no way to predict the future other than utilizing today's data to give you the best effort possible to be able to prepare for the next day. But with respect to some of the other ways that we're looking at the AI data, we're also looking at the historical AI data and setting thresholds and benchmarks for that, so that when some of the older AI signals cross and start to light up, because a lot of times that signal is called in the AI, it may not happen right now, it may not happen at this moment in time, but these are all being set up. These strategies are all looking for these various setups where the risk is far greater, I'm sorry, the reward is far greater than the risk. And when that occurs, you're presented with a variety of different options. So Barry's been experimenting with curating the AI stream, which is taking the last couple days AI signals and anticipating which ones will be really moving today. So really culling down the list to something a little bit smaller, taking a human approach to looking at what was called today and being able to present those ideas the next day. That's actually had some really great returns, and we're really looking to do something more with that idea. All right, so I talked a little bit about the trading room. Like I said, it's on our homepage. Just go up to the trading room. It's free for everybody. Pop in, take a look. It may not be for the type of style that everybody trades with, but take a look, and if it's for you, feel free to hang out. We do a podcast every Friday. My good buddy Dan is usually in charge of that and heading it up. It's not a real structured type of environment. It's kind of humorous and enjoyable and entertaining. So if you have a chance, check that out and subscribe to it.
We have been consistent the last couple of weekends.
In what way? I haven't listened. How so?
See? Well, no, we've been there. We've been doing it, Jamie and I.
Oh, consistently doing it. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good. Couple new ebooks. We had the BFD ebook out previously, but we've recently come out with a few more, and these are really interesting reads put together by the professionals at Trade Ideas. We all have some type and level of trading experience, and these are some really interesting books. We're very reachable here at Trade Ideas. I think the best way is via email, but you can reach us via social media, either at Twitter, Facebook. Give us a call. Like I said, the email is probably the best. Yeah, David. So I do. Sean is still doing the Holly Hot List, I believe. Have you not been getting it? And Davin, ETA on what? Paper trading, yeah. So pretty close. I would say we were shooting for the end of this month to be done. So I think we're still on target for that. Yeah, like the main part's all working great. We have a little bit of P&L data that we need to work out, but yeah, I think we're still on target for the end of September. All right, guys, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day and listening to me ramble on for an hour. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Scott, anything?
I think that's good. We'll have the recording up later on tonight or tomorrow. You get an email reminder about where that's located, a link to the playlist. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.